Yeah, I did great here, but not of my own volition. Hello, fiber friends. Today I am recapping all of the knitting projects I finished in 2025. So if that sounds like it will be of interest to you, I hope you'll stick around. Hello, knitting friends. Welcome back to the channel and Happy New Year. I am your host, Kristen. I am podcasting to you from the Maryland suburbs of Washington, D.C., where unfortunately, it is very gray today, so apologies for the lighting, but we got to make do with what we got. And today I'm going to be sharing with you all of the projects I finished in 2025. So many of these I started in 2024, at least, maybe even earlier, but they've all been finished in 2025. And so that's what I'm going to be sharing today. And then we're going to take a look at whether or not I accomplished any of the knitting goals I set at the beginning of the year. I also want to mention I've got a bit of a new setup here. I'm using a different kind of camera thing. I hope it's going to work correctly. We're going to do our best. And, if there are bumps along the way, we will sort those out, but hopefully this is going to result in a better video quality. You will also notice that I'm sitting a little bit off center, so this is so that I can share the photos of everything that I have finished. I'm not going to try them all on for you. However, I have already done sort of a try it on 2025 recap reel, which was shared on Instagram, and I will pop it in at the end of this video. Of course, it's also up on YouTube Shorts if you want to see everything tried on, but I'm just going to be popping photos in here. All right, I think that is all the housekeeping, so let's go ahead and just jump in to all of my finished projects from 2025. These are not in any particular order, they're just in a pile here. Hopefully that'll make for some variety. We'll get things from all seasons all over the place. So let's just get started. So number one, we have my root cellar hat. So this is actually a design of my own that I published November, I think, along with a set of coordinating mittens. The mittens I actually had finished in 2024, but the hat was finished early this year. So you can see the nice cabling and dip stitch detail up close here. So see, this new setup should make it easier for my camera to be focusing in on the things that I'm sharing. We'll see. And this is knit in Hobby Yarn's Friends Wool, I believe, which is just a 100% kind of wool, nothing fancy about it, a little bit like Wool of the Andes if you've used that. So as I said, this was published as a pattern with a pair of coordinating mittens. All of the patterns that I am talking about, I have created a bundle for them so that you can take a peek and get everything all in one spot if you are interested in any of these patterns. So number one. Number two, we have another design of mine. I'm used to looking over here and I need to be looking over here. We have another design of mine. This is not really a new design, but it was a republished design. So these are the Nightwatch mittens. This is a pattern I published several years ago with a knitting magazine that they really didn't make a great choice for the yarn and for the colors, and they just didn't look great. So I decided to go ahead and redo them and republish the pattern this year. So these are now knit in Knit Picks palette, and the pattern includes 3 sizes of nice, cozy colorwork mittens. These, despite, if you are new to colorwork, maybe they're a little slow, but if you are more experienced with colorwork, they knit up pretty quickly. They have an afterthought thumb, which is perhaps really the only kind of, it's not tricky, it's just if you haven't done it before, it will be new. So basically you put a piece of scrap yarn in, and then you can take it out later and knit the thumb. So you don't have to worry about trying to continue the pattern with the thumb in the way. So Nightwatch mittens, that's project number 2. Hello, it's Editing Kristen here. I didn't realize how just awful I look in this video, and it's because I am recovering from some mild, fortunately, food poisoning. So I look ill and exhausted, and that's why. Number 3, we have my Darjeeling top. And again, I'll go ahead and put actual photos in here so you can see a little better. This is obviously a very summery top. This is a pattern by Trust the Mojo, and I knit this in Lotus Yarns Autumn Wind, which is a cotton cashmere blend. But when I say cotton cashmere blend, I believe it's 90% cotton and just a teeny 10% cashmere. So this is really one of my more worn projects for the year. I did ultimately put these buttons on it that aren't very functional. They're too small for the buttonholes, so what I did is just I sewed the front together. There was no situation in which I was going to be wearing a tank top camisole with the front open. So I just went ahead and sewed the front shut with some matching thread. So you get, you still get the overlap. It looks like a button front, but it's actually not. This is, as I said, this is one of my more worn projects, but it's kind of the nature with cotton is that the straps are stretching out a little bit, and there's no easy. So what I could do is to pull out the seam at the shoulders and shorten the straps. But what I'm far more likely to do is to turn it inside out so the right sides are facing, and then to like sew a line of thread here and cut the excess off and just serge well, not serge because I don't have a serger, but just like zigzag the seam so it doesn't come apart. We'll see. Otherwise though, I really love this. It's really cute, really comfortable. I think the cashmere maybe just makes the cotton a little bit softer. It certainly doesn't have any kind of woolly feel. I haven't noticed a lot of pilling. I really thought the cashmere would kind of fall out after some wear, but I really haven't noticed that. And overall, this is one of my best projects, I think, of the year. All right, another summer top. This one, unfortunately, came out too big because the yarn grew a lot more than I was anticipating based on the swatch. And that is, one of the challenges of swatching. Swatches are small. It's really hard to predict some behaviors that are likely to happen with larger swaths of fabric. So this is my Sailor Swift top, and it's a little wrinkly. I knit this in Knitting for Olive Pure Silk in, as you can see, it's a pale pink and then like sort of a dusty rose color. And I love the pattern itself. I love the style, but this grew lengthwise a lot more than I was expecting. And the armholes are now just kind of too big. And there's no easy way to address that. Plus it was knit from the top down. So there's really just not much to be done about it. I could put a camisole under it, but that sort of defeats the purpose. But yeah, this is unfortunately much too long. So I do like the style. Maybe I'll knit another one someday, but this one is not getting much use because it just grew too much and I knit too big of a size. I was going back and forth about what I wanted, ultimately picked a size that was too big. So that unfortunately is not one of the stars of 2025. All right, next up, another design of mine. This is hard to fit in the frame, but this is my Winter Manath pullover, which is a pattern I published in February of 2025. I love this one. It is so comfy. It's so soft. This is knit in Knit Picks Yakish, which is a sport weight yarn. You can see it has this beautiful blue color. And this is a relatively basic pullover, but it's got there we go. It has these little cables along the shoulder shaping and along the armhole. So as I said, this is a pattern that I published. This uses what is it called? A European construction, but sort of flipped backwards. So instead of starting with the back and then picking up along those shoulder lines and going over to the front, you do the reverse. So it puts those shoulder shaping lines on the front of the design instead of the back. This has definitely been getting lots of wear. It is soft and silky and comfortable. It is a sport weight, so it's not super warm. It's more like a light layer. So this is more like a spring sweater, but I have loved this one. I'm definitely, even though it's my own design, putting this on my best knits of 2025 because it's just so comfy and I love the color. Love, love, love. So that's another one. Next up, maybe I should have put these in some kind of order. I don't know. Next up is a summer top I designed. This is called Veraniego. This is knit in Magpie Fibers Equinox Sport. And that is a silk linen blend. So like the cotton, you can have some issues with stretching. That is why I designed it with these ties at the shoulder. So you can easily adjust it as, you know, the length expands unexpectedly, or not unexpectedly, but there's just not like a whole lot you can do about cotton stretching out lengthwise over time. So as I said, I put these ties, are we focusing? Yeah. Ties at the shoulders, so it is adjustable. It's very nice and drapey. It has an A-line shape. You can actually, it's technically reversible. You can wear it with either neckline on either side. And then it just has this chunky Latvian or lateral braid here at the bottom that you use your yarn held double for that part to make it sort of extra chunky. This one I've gotten a lot of wear out of. Obviously not in the winter, but definitely in the summer I was wearing this quite a bit. I have a pair of linen pants that I sewed last summer that this is like a perfect pairing with. It's so breezy and comfy. So this pattern, you know, has not sadly been super popular, but I have been very happy with it. Next up, we have probably my most worn knit of 2025, and that is my Yoon sweater. So this is a pretty basic sweater, pullover. It has a nice folded collar, which I love. And I knit this in Valley Yarns Beckett, which is a merino alpaca blend, and it is starting to pill. But given how often I've been wearing it, that is not a surprise. This is just such an easy, basic pullover to throw over. You know, it has some nice shaping along the raglan lines. It has this very long split hem, these long cozy cuffs. So it's just very comfortable, and you can throw it on over pretty much anything, and it's nice and oversized. It's like a big sweatshirt sweater. So it's not the most interesting knit, but it is probably my most worn because it's just so comfortable. Love that one. That is, again, the Yoon sweater by, I think it's November Knits. If you are looking for just a really nice basic that you're going to be able to throw on all season, this is a good one. All right, next up we have a pattern, was just a project really, I guess, that was just an experiment. So I knit up this basic summer kind of tank top based on my own pattern, which is the Amankai tee. And this is just a kind of a basic with, you know, again, that European construction. So starting at the back, but it's got these lateral braids along those shaping lines, and around the neckline and armholes, I used a lateral braid bind off. So it's a bind off that combines a lateral braid or Latvian braid, whatever you want to call it, while binding off at the same time. So as I said, this was just an experiment, kind of hacking my own pattern into a sleeveless tank top, and this has been very comfortable and nice to wear in the summertime. So the Hobby Yarns Rococo linen has this kind of slubby, I don't know if you can see it, so a little bit slubby, thick and thin fabric that almost looks marled. And kind of when you zoom out, it's very comfortable. This was just an easy, fun project because I did receive the yarn to test out and decided to do something a little experimental with it, and it worked out well. All right, next up we have my most recent design. I actually knit 2 of these. I'm just going to show you one. This is my Finnanigans hat. This is a free pattern exclusively for my newsletter subscribers. So when you sign up for the newsletter, you will get access to this pattern, and that's the only way to get access to the pattern. So this is a DK weight hat. It is worked in shaker rib, which is reversible. So on this side, you are looking at the reverse actually, which is the fisherman's rib. And then when you flip it, you get that sort of squishy, more rustic looking shaker rib. This is the color block version that I did. I also did a solid or marled version. So this one is knit in the Farmer's Daughter Fibers Craggy Tweed. And the second hat I knit that I just don't have up here was done with a fingering weight held double, which is another option for the pattern. And that gives it more of a marled look. So that is called Finnanigans. And again, you can sign up for my newsletter and get this for free. And we are currently having a knit along for this pattern. So just grab some DK weight yarn, knit a relatively simple hat. I've got tutorials for, you know, the shaker rib and the tubular cast on, which is optional. And just, you know, it's a gray, slow time of year. This is a nice, simple knit, just to stay busy, knit something for yourself after all that holiday knitting. And within, you know, a couple weeks, you got a nice cozy hat. So if you are interested in that, I will put a link to the Discord for the knit along so you can join us. Next up, this is one of my favorite knits of the year. I'm missing a sweater. Missing a sweater. Okay, I will get that in a minute. This is one of my favorite knits of the year. This is my tea time sweater. This was a test knit I did for Megan Babin. I knit this in Wool Dreamers Sauna, which is a 50-50 wool cotton blend. And I absolutely love it. It's a little tricky to figure out when to wear because you've got the wool cotton blend, but you also got lots of eyelets. So this was good in sort of the early fall, and I expect in sort of the late spring it will be good again. But I just love it. This big cable. I love the neckline. So this is all worked simultaneously. You do not need to do any picking up after you're done knitting. I will note, however, that this is a seamed pullover. We don't love seaming all the time, but it does give some nice structure. So if you've got a fabric like this with lots of eyelets, adding seams is going to help keep things from stretching out. I don't hate seaming. I don't love it, but especially the only part I didn't really like was seaming in the sleeves. Because then you are seaming 2 different directions of fabric. So you have the body fabric going this way and the sleeve coming this way. That's not my favorite, but mattress stitching the sides was no big deal. And I just love this one. Love it. Love the yarn. Big fan. Tea time sweater. All right, this I think was my first finished knit of the year, which means I began it earlier. This is the summer slipover. I knit this in Knit Picks wool and cotton. So again, that's a 50-50 wool cotton blend. I love the fabric. I love the stitch definition. I love the color. I don't think I knit the right size. So this is a very stretchy stitch pattern. It's going to stretch out a lot, which is why I picked the size that I did. But as it stretches widthwise, it gets shorter. And it just, I have not worn this at all, other than to take some photos. Unfortunately, it just, maybe I'll donate it to my sister. But it's a really cute pattern. I love the little ties at the side, little eye cords, so cute. Again, the color is gorgeous, but I don't think I picked the right size for this, and it just doesn't fit the way I would like it to. All right, here is the sweater I forgot to pull out, and it's inside out because I've worn it recently. This was another test knit from Megan Babin, and I just really love I think her pattern writing style is good. The structure of her garments is good. Just a big fan of her. So this was a test knit, as I said, of the Lilith pullover. So I just finished this in December. It is beautiful. I love it. I knit this in Knitting for Olive merino in the purple artichoke or artichoke purple. I think it's purple artichoke colorway. And then I had in my stash the Amano Yarns Uma, which is a Surrey mohair silk blend for the floofy yarn, and that colorway is Forbidden City. They were very close. One was just a little bit cooler than the other, and I think they worked out together beautifully. So I love this sweater. My sleeves came out a little long. Unfortunately, they just grew a lot more lengthwise than I was expecting, and I do usually make adjustments for that. So I assume when knitting that if it says knit your sleeves to be 17 inches, I usually go a little shorter. But it grew more than I expected. So that is really the only trouble I have had with this, but it is gorgeous. I love it. I love the sweater so much. It's so cozy. The color is beautiful. Again, this is a seamed pullover, so if you don't like seaming, you're not gonna like this pattern, but I think it's stunning. Really don't know about this new video setup. So the deal is that I just use my iPhone to record, and I've always done the selfie mode so that I can see what I'm doing on camera. However, I got this thing for Christmas. It's called a selfie monitor, and it attaches to the phone so that you can use the good camera that's on the back of the phone, and it shows you what's happening on the screen that you can't see because it's facing the other way. But it's taken a little bit to get used to. We'll see if I like it. I may have to go back. Anyway, I did finish my Christmas socks. So these I started last year. So I did start these in 2024. This is a discontinued yarn line, Post Yarn from, come on, Simply Socks Yarn Company that I've had in my stash for years. Just a basic vanilla sock. I use my own vanilla sock recipe. I love the striping. Have worn these several times during the season, but alas, the season is just about over. Did I finish other socks this year? Maybe, but I just can't. I cannot remember. I know I need one sock that's still missing a mate, but I don't know if I finished any other pairs of socks. I really need to though. So I currently have, including this, which doesn't really count because it's for Christmas, I currently have 5 wearable pairs of socks, which is not enough. All right, and then the very last thing that I knit in 2025 is that I finished my Odyssey pullover, and this pattern will be coming very soon in early January. So this, as the name implies, has been quite a journey. I started it, then I was like, it's not worth publishing it because I'm gonna get like 5 sales and it's so much work. And then I was like, well, but I haven't been successful in finding a kind of job that fits into my schedule. So while I'm looking, I may as well just keep working on the pattern. So I went back and forth, but it is finally done. The pattern is in testing. It has been tech edited, and I finished the last sleeve, and hurrah. This is, as you can see, all over cables, 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 except for the sleeves. So the sleeves are mostly stockinette. but this is a top-down saddle shoulder, and the patterning from the saddle goes all the way down the sleeve, but the rest of the sleeve is in stockinette. This was a lot of work. There are charts for different sizes. There are, let me think. Okay, so there's a center front chart there are 3 different center front charts depending on the size. There are 3 different center back charts depending on the size. There are, I want to say 3 different left and right back charts. And then there is a chart for the left and right front for every size. And that is because, as you can see, there's no filler stitches here. I did not use any filler stitches. It is all over cables. So every size will be slightly different. It will have the same cable motifs, but they may be repeated in a different order. Or there may be more of them depending on your size. And it was a lot of work, but I love this. I haven't woven in the ends. I have not done the official pictures, but that is finally done. That is knit in Durarem Natura Ulisse, which is a sport weight yarn, but it's a sport weight kind of woolen spun. You could definitely use a fingering weight as well. And then I did knit one baby sweater in 2025. I don't have a photo of it, sadly. If I can find a photo that my brother-in-law or sister-in-law has shared, I will pop it in here and blur out little baby's face. So I got a new niece in July, and she is adorable. And so I knit for her the Crossandra Mini. It is darling, definitely recommend for babies. If I don't have a picture of baby in it, I will just put the sample photo in here, but it's a really cute pattern for babies. It was a really quick, easy knit. I used a discontinued yarn from Knit Picks called Kindred, which is a cotton alpaca blend. And that is everything, I think, that I knit in 2025. All right, I'm more in the center now because I'm not going to be posting any photos. I don't know if it's going to be any better. It still seems weird. Here's my list of knitting goals, which included 5 must-knit patterns. Okay, more color work. I did do the Nightwatch mittens, and I did start a festive yoke pullover. Not a ton, but it's a little something. 25 finished objects. All right, by my tally, 15 with the extra Finnanigans hat and 16 with the baby sweater. Okay, I mean, it's not 25, but it's not 2, so okay, 16, not bad, but quite a bit shy of my goal. A white sweater, no, but I have started one, and we'll hear about that later this month. No impulse yarn buying. This I did great on because we had sort of a financial meltdown and weren't sure if my husband was going to be keeping his job. And then the cat needed thousands of dollars in medical care. So yeah, I did great here, but not of my own volition. The good news is my husband's job is secure for at least 2026. So learn to spin or sell my wheel. I did not learn to spin. However, I also did not sell my wheel because I can't even figure out how. I'm not going to ship it. I'm not going to package up a shacked ladybug and ship it. Maybe I'll around Maryland Sheep and Wool when people are coming into town. I have moved it out of my studio into storage. I don't think I'm a spinner. 5 new patterns. Okay, I had 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I think I had 4 new plus the Nightwatch mittens re-release. So, okay. Finished my crochet whips. I only had 2, I think. And I finished 1, which was the Stevie Bum Bag. But my blanket is just an ongoing project. And I don't know if crochet is for me. I really like granny squares. But the ends are just off. There's so many. There's so many ends. And it's not as easy, at least for me, to weave them in as it is with knitting. So, half. Move away from superwash. I did, of the yarns I bought this year, I don't think any were superwash, or very few. So, good. More neckwear. No, I didn't do that. But I don't know. I don't really have anything to say about that. I just didn't do it. And my top 5 must knit patterns. Harris hood. I have started my Harris hood. I just started it like 2 days ago. Yun sweater. Done. Iris hat. Nope. And I'm not even that interested in it anymore. Kylie, which is an Irene Lynn pattern. Still love it. Still don't have yarn for it. And Luminaria, which was a mini skein shawl. No. I had the mini skeins. I changed my mind about that. So really didn't do well on the must knit patterns part. So overall on my knitting goals, I did okay, but not great. I did get more finished objects than I had the previous year. I did good on the no impulse yarn buying, although not of my own volition. I did publish 5-ish patterns, so I definitely made some progress, but definitely they were not all winners. All right, friends, that is my 2025 recap. Next week, I will be sharing my new knitting goals for 2026, and then we'll see how I do on those throughout the year. If you follow me on Instagram, you will know that I shared my Make 12 for the year, and we'll be talking more about that, as well as some general goals, and should be dropping the Odyssey pullover pattern in the next video, so stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for joining me for today's video. If you enjoyed it or learned anything from it, I hope you will give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. New knitting videos here every Saturday. If you're looking for me on social media, you can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as Mania Padawana, and I will see you soon in another video. Bye.